Hello peeps, it's Hillbilly Halfwit. How are you today? We've had a good bit of rain and that's good for the ground and everything. I hope you can hear me okay, the wind is about. What I'm going to talk about now is farming in the UK, or my own thoughts on it. Now, quite interesting thing about farming, there was an old saying many years ago which said, the first generation who bought the farm created the debt, the second generation paid the debt back, and the third generation spaffed it up all. Now that was a big saying. It was said for years and years as I was growing up, and I've always remembered it. And my dad bought this place and there was a lot of debt with it and had some troubles, and I worked out of the farm on the forestry and building and various things, and it led to paying all this debt back. And now I'm out of debt completely, just an overdraft. So I'm the second one, if you see what I mean. So I don't want debt. It's nice to have a bit of it, don't get me wrong, when you're in trouble and you need something or you need a piece of machinery. Sometimes it's better to buy a piece of machinery that'll last you 10 years or whatever, and than getting a contractor in. And like I suppose 15 years ago perhaps, I bought a decent wrapper and a decent baler because I was sick of getting contractors in. That was costing you like £600 a year or more. It's up to £1,000 a year now to only come when they can come. And you could never get the crop right. Sometimes we were having it baled in, it had been rained on and things like that. So I invested a bit back then, and I was working then, to buy a tidy baler, second hand of course. And probably through that time it's cost me less than £200 a year to buy that now. So I'm glad I did it back then. So things like that is different. But everybody love new stuff, but who can't afford it. Well, I'll tell you what happened in my situation. Some people already know, but I found out I was going blind when I was 27. So I got a condition called retinitis pigmentosa. And I know what people think I'm okay, but I've got really tunnel vision like that. And then it's a real big blind spot, and I see a little bit out in the peripheral. But it's why I'm always walking into stuff and hitting myself. So I struggled with that for quite a while. Tried to carry on working and things in my normal jobs, but it just wasn't happening. It's harder when you're like that. So I had a bit of a problem with my mental health then about 10 years ago more than 10 years ago when I started this channel. And I got myself out of it, and then I got myself out of it, but I just definitely decided what to do. I decided what I'd do is I would enjoy my life while everything was okay. And I knew my eyesight was going to go later in life. Now, I had an operation about 5 or 6 years ago, and it made my sight a bit better, and it took cataracts off, but I've still got the eye condition, so I've got a bit of a reprieve at the moment. One eye is a lot worse than the other one, but I've still got this tunnel vision. And anyway, I made a decision to live off the farm and to spend less. I made a conscious decision. If you don't buy nothing new, or you don't buy nothing you don't need, you don't have to go in debt and you don't have to pay for it. And then I was putting all my money into paying my mortgage off. And it's been very hard going the last 10 years. But I've paid it off at the beginning of this year. And it was a conscious decision to learn to live like my grandparents did, living off what they got. And I totally accept lots of people aren't like that, But I realised that I couldn't work like I was years ago because of insurances and things. And it's a hellish hard job compared to what I used to be like. So it was a conscious decision. If you don't spend it, you don't have to make it. That's how I deal with my farming. So for instance, I get lower prices in the market, and I accept I'll get lower prices because I'm not in these other schemes and I haven't got the best stock around. But the way I deal with it is I try to only spend what I need to on them. That's how I deal with it. So I don't rent ground anymore. I decided not to do that. So we decided the last mortgage I had, we bought a little bit of ground so I didn't have to rent ground, and it was cheaper than renting ground. So now that ground that we had doesn't cost me anything. That's how I look at things now. So I could have a new tractor if I wanted to, or have a new truck if I wanted to, and it'd all be lovely. But the next 10 or 15 years of what I'd make in this farm would go for paying for it. So there's no point, is there? So I decided, if you don't spend it, you don't have to make it. That's how I look at things. You'll see a lot of people getting huge, massive prices in the market. They'll be getting £150 a lamb, some of them, or £120 a lamb. But if you go back to the farm, you'll find out that they waste huge amounts of money on tack they don't need. And that lamb's price has come down to my price anyway. I learned that a long time ago. So some people look down on you for being a bit like that, but I don't care. I learned also at that time to say most people don't give a fuck about you anyway. So that's what I learned. So just look after yourself, enjoy your life, love the people that like you, enjoy your friends that like you. You'll only have a few friends in life. It'll be a handful of friends who are really proper friends. The rest of them, most of them are hangers on and just want to use you. But like I was saying with this farming thing earlier, I know I babbled on a bit now. When I was growing up, farming was extremely tight. There's lots of people moaning now. They have no idea how bad it used to be. Absolutely no idea. Pretty much all the farms in this area, even the bigger farms, were living off bread and cheese and things, like people who were in poverty, you know, let's be honest about it. Lots of farmers were in big poverty. But you see lots of farmers now with huge amounts of wealth pretending to be in poverty. That's what I see. You watch for the farmers that keep quiet, have got all new tack everywhere and don't talk much about it. They're the wealthy ones, because they got to spend to hide it for the taxman. There's the other ones, the third ones I mentioned at the start, that are spending all the money that the second generation paid for, and they're getting rid of the farm, and they don't notice it. They're putting themselves into such debt, they'll be in a position where any small thing that happens to the stock market or something, and your debt is gone. Now, I told you about this myself. I had this with my dad. During the time when he was in very bad debt, it wasn't all his own fault, to be fair. It was the interest rates were mental. It was like 15 to 17%. And all of a sudden, the bank just called him up and said, we're calling in the loan. And I think we had 2 weeks to sort it out. There was nothing you could do about it. They just decided that was it. And I was just leaving school. I hadn't got a loan or anything. And I will always say this, that's why I always stay with Midland Bank. They give me a loan then, and if they hadn't, we had to sell the farm. And I hadn't got accounts, if I remember correctly then. I can't remember now. But it was fair play to them. That's why I've always stuck with Midland. I do have my problems with them, but it's HSBC now. If it hadn't have been for them, we'd have probably lost the place. But that happened within a month. They can call them loans in whenever they want. And it might be great to have a new tractor outside your house, but Never forget, these banks have got you by the knackers. And I see a lot of farms around, a lot of younger farmers around now who are in that stage of the third generation where they're spending the farm, not realising that they're putting themselves in a very precarious situation. So it's sad to see, really. So I hope I'm wrong, but in the building trade now at the moment, from what I understand, there's 400 to 500 building firms going insolvent every week. 400 to 500. So I think there's a big something going to happen in the UK. I've been saying it for a while. The government really is, I don't think it has any idea about normal working people's lives and small businesses' lives, and they're putting people in such a situation with taxes and stuff. Like my bill now for my council tax, just on my little farm, I make less than 10,000 a year. And my fucking council tax bill this year has gone up. It's 2,750 quid. Unreal. It's nearly a third of what I bloody have to live off. So lots of young farmers these days have no idea of poverty. Lots of people are being brought up to absolutely love debt and they've never been out of it. So I'll tell you one thing, when you decide you don't want it, you wouldn't believe how nice it is. You may think I live in a way different to everybody else, or I don't have everything, but I consciously decided to do that. I got a lovely lady who looks after me, and my missus. We get on really well, and just happy. And I'm lucky to be able to put it over on this channel, and I'm lucky that you all watch. So I don't know where this came from today, but don't always think you have to be the biggest farmer, the best at everything. Just be happy with life. And I worry about lots of these big YouTubers pushing people to buy new tack, and then the fathers and the families saying, yeah, we'll do that, and then putting them into this precarious situation. So there we are. By the way, never had one wage off this farm while I was working with my dad. Not one wage. He bought me a transit van once when I was younger, fair play to him, and that was really appreciated. I think it was like 2.5 grand, I think. And then I went out and worked all over the place with that, and was doing the motorbikes and things, all out of my own money. I never had any money when I was doing the bikes off the farm. It was all off my work outside of the farm. So I'm thankful now I've got the beautiful place that it is. So there we are. Please subscribe. All the best, guys.